Pickup Lines is presented by Gamez Law Firm. Personal injury guidance for more than 50 years. Gamez Law fights. By Integrity Roofing and Siding. Family owned and operated for more than 40 years, serving the San Antonio area for roofing, siding, and renovation needs. And by the Sabinal Group. For nearly 20 years, serving the San Antonio region through professional minority general contracting services. Pickup Lines is broadcast from inside the all-electric Lexus RZ 450E, courtesy of North Park Lexus at Dominion and North Park Lexus of San Antonio. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in once again. It is another episode of Pickup Lines. It is the talk show in a car. In this case, we're in the Lexus RZ 450E, and we are having a great day here. It is Veterans Day, so I thought it was fitting that we find someone who embodies service, who has served in the military, and Bart Vasquez checks all the boxes. Welcome in, and happy Veterans Day to you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You were in the, we'll get to your current role and your current job here in just a little bit, but you were in the Army for about a little more than 7 years.
Yeah, 7.5 years. I was in the Army. I got out in August of 2002.
And then you spent more time than that in the Air Force, correct?
Yeah, I joined the police department, but within my first years on the police department, I had a supervisor who said, hey, don't let those years go. Come with me. I'll do the Air Force Reserves. And I did, and ended up staying there another 16 years and retired with 23 years total from the military.
So while you were simultaneously a San Antonio police officer, eventually a sergeant, I believe, right?
Yes.
You were able to be in the reserves, and the police department allows you to do that.
Yes, yeah. The police department is very supportive of our military and our veterans, and I know the whole city of San Antonio is, and so is Bexar County. And, it's very helpful to know that about 40% of our first responders here in Bexar County are veterans, also are still serving in the military.
That is pretty remarkable. 40%, and when you say first responders, that can be police, that can be fire,
yes.
EMS, yes. Sheriff department, all that.
Yes.
It's military city USA.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. Makes sense. So here we are on Veterans Day. I wonder what today, personally, for someone who has served for so many years, what does today mean to you personally?
To me, I like to really thank the guys that came back injured or, didn't come back as whole as, I was lucky to do. And those are the guys we really owe our thanks to. Every veteran, of course, deserves our thanks, but some of them left a lot over there, and some of them did a lot for this country. And so I think really when you see these veterans out there, you don't know really their story they went through. So it really is a time to say thank you.
Some of them left stuff, obviously physical, but then there's so much more emphasis on mental now, and I mean, mental health and some of the things that you see or experience when you're out there, whether you're serving.
Yeah, no, you're right. And like we said, 40% of our first responders, so they went through their military time and transitioned on to being a first responder, and then, what they see and deal with there. So, my hats are really off to some of those guys. And if you ever are around SAMC and get to see the things that they fight through and what they've gone through and what they're still fighting to do, it's amazing.
I have heard some of those stories. I have not had a chance to see it personally, but you just hear some of those things, and as we speak, some people are going through some tough times right now, and we're sending them positive vibes for sure. If you were to take your military career, the reserves and the Army time, because you were a police officer in the Army, correct?
Yes, I was military police, which really doesn't mean a whole lot. So
come on now. Wait a minute. Well, I was going to ask you, how would you define, because I think we know what a police officer is, right? Like, to hear a traditional police officer, but when you're a police officer in the military, forgive my ignorance, how is it different than what you would do, say, SAPD?
Well, you see them here and you see them on base, and you'll see them, securing the gates and driving around the base. But that's while they're here. There's always going to be deployment time. And when you deploy, you're over there serving missions over there, from patrolling out whatever area that you're deployed in to securing a base there. So it's totally different once you're deployed than when you're here. And so when you're here and you see them on the base or you see them on one of the posts, that's their downtime, what they're doing basically.
Believe it or not, yeah.
So they're back here, keeping the installation safe. But it's a big difference from what you see out here at police work as far as SAPD and things like that.
Not that there isn't stress and everything involved, because you went to, was it Afghanistan or Iraq? I mean, you spent some time overseas.
After 9/11, we did deploy. Right after 9/11, we stayed gone for about 6 or 7 months when it first happened.
How crazy was that time? I mean, I can't imagine what that must have been like, because so many people made that decision after 9/11 to do something, join the military, or double down on their military service.
Yeah, I mean, the feeling of wanting to serve our nation after what happened was tremendous, and I had already been in for 5.5, 6 years or so. So when that happened, it was just point us in direction so we can go take care of business. And it was very, very great time to be able to do something after 9/11 and help out, but glad to make it back.
Can you believe it's been 23 years now since?
No, it's it seems just like yesterday. I tell everybody woke up that morning, we'd do PT, in the Army. And so
on 9/11.
Yeah,
it was a Tuesday, I remember, yes.
Worked out and went home to change. And as soon as I was getting out of the shower, my phone was ringing off the hook and said, get all your stuff and get back in here now. And I was like, what's going on? And, went and found out what was going on and couldn't believe what was going on. But we had a job to do after that. And so it changed quickly from, disbelief to, okay, let's get our job done.
And the rest is history, as they say. You still keep in touch with some of the guys or the men and the women that you served with over there?
Yeah, I do. Facebook is great. And so,
isn't it?
People will message me or I message them and just see how they're doing. And, a lot of them are out now because it's been, for me, numerous years since since I joined. So everybody's about out, of that time. So it's just kind of keeping in contact, talking with them, with those who I served with, and making sure that they're doing good. And same thing with me. They make sure I'm doing good. So
you came back, as you mentioned, you went into the San Antonio Police Department and spent a number of the years, 20 years?
Yeah, 21 years.
Almost 21 years there. Is it fair? Can you compare that service and military service? I mean, I would think there are some similarities.
No, there is. And it's, serving our community and our country and keeping, everybody safe and doing our part. So, I mean, there is, a lot of similarities, a lot of structure, and, there is no, like, hey, you got to be at work and you got to do your job. And you got to do these things. And so that structure is always there, and there's always, a hierarchy and a chain of command, same as the military. So you're following what you're told to do. And, of course, the police department, there's a lot of freedom to make choices out here when you're in the streets every day. But, all that structure is still there. So there's a lot of similarities.
And much like in the military, you saw some pretty dramatic things and experienced some things. I know you talked about, was it in 2022 when we had that horrific scene with the 53 migrants who died in the trailer?
Yes.
In the middle of the hot summer. Were you, if not one of the first, you were the first law enforcement there on the scene?
Yeah, I was actually one of the managing supervisors out there. We got there pretty quick. And began to try to help EMS as they were, trying to save wherever they could save. And we were there trying to help EMS at the same time, trying to see who did this and who was responsible. So we always got to keep that in the back of our mind. And the officers and firefighters did a great, tremendous job out there. They actually caught the suspect out there on the scene, trying to hide amongst the victims. And so they actually caught them out there, but it was a heads up fire crew that was searching the wood line for any more survivors and pointed a guy out. And then, very sharp policemen police officers that responded over there and saw the guy and thought, this just doesn't add up. Let's keep this guy separate, and turned out to be, he was a suspect. So, great job by all of them out there.
Was that probably one of the toughest days of your SAPD career, would you say?
No, there's been others, tragedies that you've seen involving kids, very small kids, I think are tough to deal with, knowing that, I've had kids myself and, remembering when they were that small. So those scenes are always very tough to deal with, and try to offer the family some kind of comfort, and that, God is here for them and God has a plan, but trying to, offer families comfort at that time is very tough and very hard, and can't imagine what they're going through. So,
well, I think that's a perfect segue to take us into your current role, because as you can see on his shirt, he is the executive director of the 100 Club of San Antonio, which you literally spend time now doing the same thing you kind of just outlined, where you're providing comfort, resources, when many families of first responders are going through the most difficult day or week or month or year of their life.
Yeah, we're here for the families of the fallen first responders that we have in Bexar County.
Right.
We have 85 since the 100 Club started in 1973. There's been 85 first responders that have died in line of duty here in Bexar County, and that's just Bexar County. I mean, we know there's a lot of other counties surrounding us, but just here there's 85.
And again, that covers police, fire. I mean, just think of any first responder that you can think of. It's an unfortunate number because you did celebrate the 50th anniversary of the 100 Club, and you told me the story not too long ago. And if you don't mind, I would like you to just kind of rehatch that story, because I think a lot of people have heard of the 100 Club, or they've gone to the spaghetti dinner in July. They're familiar with the brand, but that started, was it in Indiana, or it started somewhere else?
It started in, I think, Illinois. And there was an officer who was killed in line of duty. He was shot in line of duty. And a business owner there wrote a letter to 100 of his friends, other business owners, and said, would y'all send something in to help support this family of this fallen first responder?
Right.
All 100 of the people he sent a letter to responded. And that's how they came up with the name the 100 Club. And a lot of people, I ask people all the time, what is the 100 Club? And I get all kind of answers. I get numerous answers from everybody out there, but that's actually how it got its name and how it got its start. Was 100 of the people wrote back and supported that first responder. 100%
participation back in, and this was 50 something years ago.
Yeah, back in the 50s. Is when it's happening.
70, something like that. So that's pretty cool that happened. And obviously, San Antonio, comes out, I think, whenever you guys need help.
Yes.
San Antonio is a very giving community.
No, they do. And we're grateful for a community like San Antonio and Bexar County that supports our military, supports our first responders. And, when we really need something, they really come through and help out.
So you were talking about those 85 first responders that have been lost in the lifespan of the 100 Club of San Antonio. You will honor them in a very unique way this coming weekend on Saturday.
Yes, Saturday, November 16th, this Saturday, we'll have our 5K walk. You can also walk.
I may be walking, but go ahead.
I know you're all into the run part, Ernie.
Oh, yeah.
There's a walk there, but it's our 22nd annual Run to Remember. And so what we want to do is really remember the sacrifice that these first responders made for this community. It's important for the community to remember that. It's important for the first responders to learn the lessons of what happened and see if we can progress from that time of either firefighting or police work, and the different things we do differently now were hard lessons that were learned from the ways we used to do things. And tactics and procedures just evolve over time.
Right.
And so not that they did anything wrong at the time, it's just we try to get better every time. But these are very hard lessons from firefighting and police work that we must learn and move on from. And we can't forget. We can never forget the sacrifice that they have made for this community, and keeping it safe.
And you do other things around the year, obviously. We'll talk about boots and badges in a little bit, but for the purpose of this coming weekend, the 22nd annual Run to Remember, you can sign up, go online. It's the number 100, 100clubsa.org, 100clubsa.org. You can sign up. I think it's $30.
Yeah, it's $30 to come out there and run and walk, but you get a t-shirt. We'll have a lot of vendors out there from the sponsors that we have. Anybody wants to be a sponsor, it's not too late, but some of the sponsors will have their vendor tables out there and be giving away free items. We'll have music out there. Right at 8:45, we'll start with our honor guard and our national anthem and things like that, and then we'll move on to the fun part of the 5K. It's only a 5K.
So there you go. So it's not going to take all day long. But it's at Eisenhower Park on Northwest Military Highway this coming Saturday, starting, you said, a little after 8 o'clock is when they'll get everything going. But if you want to sign up, find out more, maybe become a vendor, as Bart said, it's not too late. 100clubsa.org, the number 100, 100clubsa.org. And then for the purpose of like a save the date, you guys will have your next big event in January, right?
Yeah, January 31st, our Boots and Badges, our annual event. It's a casino themed night that we do. But this year we're having it at the Rock at La Cantera, the actual practice courts where the Spurs practice at. They turned that into a venue somehow, and we'll have it there. But it should be a great night. I've never heard anybody having an event there, so we're probably one of the first ones to have it there. But it's a great atmosphere, a great venue. You see the championship banners hanging
Yes.
up on the walls, and different jerseys hanging from different Spurs players throughout the year. So it's a very great venue, we think,
Right.
and we really want to get people to come out. So
Because people have done stuff outside the Rock, right? But you're talking about literally on the courts,
Yes.
inside. So if it's cold, the weather won't be an issue. But they'll cover the courts, right? And people can.
yeah, I
time.
imagine, you know, back in your day, Ernie, when they had proms in the gym at the high school.
Yes.
You know, kind of like that. So they'll
When I was standing in the corner there with nobody to dance with, yes, I recall. You're exactly right. The old school gymnasiums, yes. Smell like a barn or something, yes. No, very good. So that'll be January 31st. And more information on that, tickets and all that will come out later. But I just wanted you to kind of put that date in your head for Boots and Badges early next year.
Yes.
Touched on mental health earlier, and I don't know if, again, I think a lot of people know about the 100 Club of San Antonio. It's a nonprofit, so you're raising funds through the runs to remember and Boots and Badges, the spaghetti dinner in July, those kinds of things. But you do get some help from the city and the county, right? Is it in terms of funds?
No, we actually, this year was our first year that we actually got a grant from the city and the county, for mental health initiatives that we're doing. And so what we'll do is, we know there's barriers to first responders wanting to go to treatment. One of the barriers is, if they go to the staff psychologist or something like that, or their EAP, that the administration is going to find out somehow. We know that's a myth, but how do you break that myth out there? So we work with 12 companies out there that are not affiliated with any department, that if a first responder goes to them directly, and then that leads me to the second barrier, is cost. Because out-of-pocket costs for mental health, we all know that mental health is one of the underfunded health cares in society as a whole.
Sure.
But in Texas, it really is. You know, I think we're 29th in as far as mental health funding, and that, you know, goes to first responders as well. We don't have a magic insurance; it's the same as everybody else. So, out-of-pocket costs are really high, and so what that does is it kind of creates that barrier to the first responder going to treatment. So to remove that barrier, we have worked with these 12 companies, and they have agreed to charge a flat rate for any first responder going, and they'll invoice us, and we'll take care of that deductible or copay directly if the first responder can't afford to do it.
Now, is this just for active duty, or is it for retired first responders as well?
No, we do help out retirees as well. Some of the retirees we don't hear from, so it's not a large portion of retirees, but we do help out retirees if needed also.
Because, I mean, wasn't it, maybe earlier in your career more taboo to talk about these things, or maybe there was a machismo about, I'm fine, or this is just a phase or whatever. But now I feel like it's probably not perfect, but there is more of a conversation being had, and it's okay to be a little vulnerable when it comes to your mental health.
Yeah, talking on Veterans Day, we learn a lot from the military, and so first aid and helping the public out there, the advancements in medicine. We learn so much from the wars that we've been involved in as far as medicine-wise, and we've translated to police department. Now you see every officer out there carrying a tourniquet on their belt. You know, we learned that tourniquets are okay to put on if somebody's bleeding from extremity. But at the same time, mental health. The military learned this, a few years ago, as they were coming back from these wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and surviving over there. They were losing a tremendous amount here in the United States. And so the military really turned their vision on mental health and really made it not taboo and really wanted people to come out and get treatment. And I think now that the police departments, we had all those suicides on San Antonio Police Department right before I retired, a year before that. And so we learned that lesson that this is something that we need to, speak about and talk about. And I know San Antonio Police Department, Bexar County Sheriff's Office does a great job. Their wellness unit and mental health unit do a tremendous job on really trying to get that word out there to the officers it's okay to go get treatment. It's okay to talk about this, because I can tell you, when I dial 911, I want the best physically well officer showing up, the best mentally well officer showing up to handle my emergency.
Great point.
I don't want no excuses. I want you to handle my emergency, and I want you to be in the top physical shape and the top mental shape, so you can handle my emergency, take care of business.
Can't disagree with that. A few more minutes here with Bart Vasquez, the executive director of the 100 Club of San Antonio. 100clubsa.org is the website. Going back to little Bart, when you were a kid, did you grow up with the desire and the passion? Did you have law enforcement in your family, or do you remember that day where you said, that's what I want to do?
No, not really. If anybody knew me as a teenager, they would be surprised that I became a policeman. Wasn't the best of kids, growing up, but in growing up where I did here in San Antonio, I graduated from Memorial High School.
Yeah.
It's a little the poorer side of town, and there's few ways to get out, especially back then in the 90s when I was graduating high school, or the 90s. And so one of the ways was military, and I ended up joining the military and going away for that 7.5 years, and really grew up and saw a lot more of the world, and then was fortunate enough, I think, part of God's plan to get on the police department. And so that really, helped me, transition from out of where I grew up at to, having a better life. So I'm forever grateful to, the citizens and San Antonio for what helped me during those times.
Are you saying that if the military had not been an option, that perhaps you were headed down a...
Yeah, I don't think I would be here today if it wouldn't have been for the military, for joining the military. I really do.
Man, you turned out all right, though.
That and, God. I think God has a plan for us, and if we take those paths, when we come to those crossroads, if we go the right direction, it's it's for the betterment of us. And so I truly believe that.
Because I was going to say, you are a spiritual person.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. How much did you rely on that when you were in the middle of Afghanistan, or in the middle of pick your side of town here in San Antonio when stuff's going down?
It's a lot. I mean, you got to be courageous, and you got to find what makes you courageous. And for some of us, it's God. Some of it's our family. Some of it's a combination of all. But we got to find what makes us courageous and do our job and continue on. And I think God always wants us to be strong. Have faith and do work. And so I think that's kind of one of the messages I heard a few weeks ago at church is, be strong and do work.
Yeah.
And so if you do those things, have faith, be strong, and do work, everything will be okay.
So you completed your first year as the executive director of the 100 Club of San Antonio not too long ago.
Yes.
Having done that, how do you feel about, how are you different now as compared to a year ago when you took the job, and what have you learned from this year now of being the nonprofit, the organization?
Yeah, I really see that what we do out there for our first responders is impactful, tremendous impact on the lives of these first responders out there, that, no matter what's going on in their life, no matter what's happening, they go to work and they sacrifice so much for the community, missing holidays. I mean, today's Veterans Day, and you can see the parking lots full of people enjoying restaurants and things like that, but there's still firefighters manning a firehouse. There's still police officers patrolling the streets and responding to things going on out there. So no matter, they're making that sacrifice, that their families are probably off at home, and the first responder's gone. And so that sacrifice, and that's not going to be any different come Thanksgiving. That's not going to be different come Christmas time and New Year's. All those sacrifices they make, and not knowing if, this is the day that we kind of, end everything. So those things happen, and we're, tremendously grateful. But I see the impact that the 100 Club has had on these families. Out there.
Okay. Really appreciate everything you've done. 100clubsa.org is the website. The number 100clubsa.org. The Run to Remember coming up on Saturday the 16th at Eisenhower Park. Find out more information at 100clubsa.org. Bart, as always, thank you for your service, first and foremost, military, police, and otherwise, and all the best to you.
No, thank you, and to all our veterans out there, happy Veterans Day.
Indeed.
Really appreciate the sacrifice they made.
Very good. All right, there he is, Bart Vasquez, the executive director of the 100 Club of San Antonio. Again, thanks to all of our servicemen and women out there, the veterans, for their service. And we'll be back again very soon here with another episode of Pickup Lines. Till then, bye for now.